Cultural identity. Cultural identity is linked to national identity. We need to take care that if we want to develop our national identity, we also need to keep an eye on the progression of our cultural identity. If the progression of cultural identity is not taking place, that means we will not be able to develop the national identity on our young minds. It has to be linked to national identity, and the government has to take place. The government has to take this concern into mind that they need to work on the cultural identity with the help of the people who are working and supervising the provinces and the big cities. And also the culture of the country and the culture of that province is being displayed and exhibited in all the festivals and ceremonies that are taking place. It has been seen that most of the events that are taking place in Pakistan do not represent the cultural identity of those areas. The people who are looking after the provinces in the municipal committees or the government level are not taking care of it, that they have to see to it that the cultural identity is being progressed and it is working in place and it is having an influence on the young minds of Pakistan. It is acknowledged that the concept of identity is a complex one. It is very difficult to create this identity shaped by multiple forces because there are so many forces which are working in order to make the identity, whether it is cultural identity or whether it is national identity, which is linked to cultural identity. The individual characteristics, the individual behaviors of people in their families, also family and social class dynamics. What is the family looking for? What are the priorities of the family? And what are the concepts that are prevailing in the social class? What are the dynamics of that social class? What are the dynamics and priorities of that family which is belonging to that social class? Historical factors. Again, the cultural concepts are developed by historical concepts, and these historical concepts need to be made aware to all the members of the society, the province, the country, at national level so that people know about the history of their country and they know about the people who have really worked for the freedom of the country, for the independence of the country. Economic and political context. Again, these are all the factors, including economic and political factors, which help to build up the cultural identity. So, if the political context is very clear to the students and the young minds, they will be able to know what is the culture of their country and what is the cultural identity of their country. And that is linked to the national identity of those young minds. Then only they will be able to understand what is their national identity. What are the rules and regulations in place in order to exercise their culture and to identify themselves as nationals of that country. But education plays a key role in constructing and preserving national and cultural identity. Although we have said that it is a complex thing to develop cultural identity leading to national identity, and there are many factors, and it is very difficult to work on all the factors, but above all is the education system, which develops the cultural identity leading to national identity. So, what is important here is that because there are so many factors which are going to work on the cultural identity of a student, the best thing is to put all these factors in place through the education system. That is, the history that the students read, they should be able to identify their culture, identity, and national identity. Through the political science, the civics they read, they should be able to know about their national and cultural identity. Through all the behaviors that they have in the school, in the university, and in the colleges. They should be able to know what is their identity as Pakistanis, how they are expected to behave, what should be their behaviors, what should be their code of wearing dresses. All these things, they come under the education system and the responsibility of the institutions. But as said earlier, because of the privatization of schools, colleges, and universities, there is an abolishment of the uniform. There are no uniforms in schools and colleges and universities. People are allowed and free to wear anything. They are not given a dress code, and the government is not taking any action on the approval of such private institutions, because the government is responsible to give the approval to set up these private institutions. And before the government gives this approval, it is their responsibility to display a code of conduct when there is going to be an understanding that this institution will be opened in this area, and how the cultural identity has to be maintained, how the national identity has to be made balanced in order to work on the education system through the learning, the behaviors of the students, and the moral values and the cultural values of the area has to be kept in consideration. Only then the government should be approving the opening of any institution in private sector.